Hi guys, welcome and welcome back to my YouTube channel. My name is Wanjiro Kabuchi and I am so grateful and I'm so thankful to God for giving me this chance to sit down here and to just have a moment with you guys because I've missed you. I've really been away from this channel and I cannot just wait to come back here and to sit and do what I love doing most. Now, a lot has happened. The year has been 2023 and I'm telling you this year it cannot be described best as one that has been so tempting, one that has been full of surprises, and one that has been full of, getting to understand and getting to be, tempted and to be stronger more than before. Now, as we come to the end of this year, I could not wait. I could not wait. Each and every day, I know I've been away for quite some time. I think I've been away for some months. I think about close to 6 months. And I'm telling you, I've really tried my level best. Only when I thought that I would come back in around August, now things again started happening, and I could not just sit and just talk to you. But either the way, you know that when it comes to this channel, we try to bring forth life. We try to bring life in a more blissful manner, in a more blissful way. And of course, we try as much as possible to talk about mental health. And it is such a coincidence that this year I was so passionate about talking about the topic of mental health. Some of the things that people go through, some of the things that people get to and those things can really jeopardize their mental health. And let me tell you guys, all some of those things I have experienced them, and I'm telling you, as I sit down here, I want to tell you that the power of talking, the power of just having someone that take you through some issues, some life hassles, some life struggles, it is such a powerful person to have in life, so that at least sometimes you might be knocked down and this person will just wake you up and just get you on track back again. So this is the year 2023, and I might say that as we're coming to an end, this has been so surprising year to me and to my life and to everybody around me. And there have been a lot of tremendous growth and tremendous achievement the whole throughout the year. But again, the whole of this year, I've had the biggest losses. The biggest part of me was taken away from me and was snatched away from me. And I'm going to post it here and for you guys to see. Just a small thing, because I'm still going through that phase. I might not be able to talk more about that part, but then the rest of the things that I've gone through throughout the year, those one I'll take you through. Now let's get back to this year. Now, it is the year 2023, as you all know. Of course, you get to a new year with a lot of anticipation. You get to the new year with a lot of hope. You get to a new year with the new resolutions and the things that you want to do and anticipate that you'll achieve throughout the year. So to me, of course, again, when I was starting this year, again, that's what I did. Of course, I started by going to church. 2023, I went to church. As we are celebrating the new year. Then after that, I went to a joint around my place, of course, a hotel that is around my area, where, of course, there were so fireworks and there were a lot of dances. And you can see from a channel, you can go and watch the new year dances that we had. And we had a lot of fun. And I was anticipating this year to be one of the greatest year that was to go through. Despite everything that has happened, of course, I'm grateful to God for the gift of life. I'm grateful to God for the gift of health, and I'm grateful to God for the gift of my son and my job and everything around me, my good friends. And I have a topic talking about who are your kind of friends that you have around you. And I have a lot to talk about. Now, let's talk about that. So when, of course, the year started, it started with a lot of optimism. I was looking forward to getting a good year, to having a good year. And of course, as the Bible says, that of course the man plans, all the plans of the mind belongs to the man, but the answer of the tongue comes from the Lord. Of course, we go to church and pray to God that these are our plans, Lord. These are the desires of our heart. These are the dreams and our inspirations. And we trust that God is going to hold our hands and to take us through the year. That was my anticipation. That was my prayer. And as the year started, of course, I had my resolution. One of the resolution was to stand in for myself, to be present more in my life, and to just be there for myself. Because you realize that, of course, most of the things that will happen in your life, if you're not going to stand strong for yourself, so many things are going to knock you down. And so this year, as it started, I told God that I want to be more present in my life. I want to be more accountable in my life. I want to be more involved in my areas that I need to be involved. In terms of parenting, I want to be 100% involved in the parenting of my son. If it is, for instance, taking care of my parents, I wanted to be present for them. And if it is my friends who needed my help and who needed me to be there for them, I was actually, and this year I've tried to being present in areas that I've needed most. That one I have really, really tried to do that. So as the year started, of course, I told God that now this is what I really want to do. I had different outlines. I wanted to do things that will propel me to another different level. As you age, you need to change your career, maybe, or you need to advance your career, or maybe you just need a whole turn round of so many things that you're doing around your life, and with your life. So that's some of the things that I prayed God for. I prayed God for a turnaround in terms of my career. I needed to take a new trajectory. I talked to God about my path with parenthood, and of course I needed to take a new path, and I wanted to be more accountable and more present in my son's life, and I wanted to be a good parent, and I have been a good parent if I assess myself from something, like from a parameter, some small parameters here and there. I would say that I've been a good parent, and I've always I've wanted this year to be more of happiness, achievements, being present in my life, and all that. And that is exactly what happened. January came, I met, and again, as the year started, I told God to send positive people around my life. People who can impact you, people who can be of good health to you in terms of the paths, different paths that you want to take. These people can easily help you to get to that point. If you want to be accountable, more accountable in your life, I asked God to give me people who will support me in the process. And let me say that some of the habits that I had to drop, it's a courtesy of the decisions that you have to make. When you're making these decisions, as much as you want just to make the decisions for yourself, but then you don't just ask God to, remove some people who can still get you back to the decisions that you are trying to drop. You might not have a smooth kind of life and all that. So it started off by, of course, cutting down my list of friends. I'm not saying that I cut anybody, but I think it's just a way of God, trying to surprise me, that some people stopped talking to me. I did not have vibe for some people. I did not hang out with some people, and that part just ended at that point. We are not bad friends. We are not enemies with those people, but then I think our communication is not aligned to what I was, trying to get to, and the trajectory that I was taking in my life. So that's the first thing. The second thing that happened, of course, I was now becoming more present in myself, with myself. Like, how do I put this? Like, unaona ile time unajipata you need to be more present in your life, and you need to make changes, and these changes, it's only you who is going to make them. So that's the kind of life that I was trying to do. And I remember one time I was just going through the newspapers. I'm not the kind of person who go through the newspaper. So I was just going through the newspaper, and I read something. I got to see something, came across an article, and I read about it, that you must be accountable in your life, and you must be accountable of everything that you do in your life. And that article, as I was reading it through, I was just remembering some of...
Guys, you act like...
Ah, sorry for that. So, of course, some interruptions here and there, but we move on regardless. So now, as I was saying, that of course I read through the article, and the article was talking more about accountability, and you must be accountable uh, for every decision that you make. You must be ready for that decision. You must be ready for the consequences. If you pick on that decision, you must be ready for the consequences that will follow up with that decision. And you must be present. Like, generally, you have to be there for yourself. So generally, that was what the article was talking about. And as I was going through the year, I decided that I'm going to be as much as possible, much accountable to myself and to my life, and all that. So February came. I met good tremendous people. I met very nice people who really helped me to navigate through life. Sorry for that. Came May, will fast track. I think for those people who are following me, and you have followed me in Facebook. I go by the name Wanjiru Kabuchi. I write sometimes. I'm not saying that I'm a good writer, and I'm not saying that I'm a consistent writer, but I've tried. So if you go to my Facebook, Wanjiru Kabuchi, you will see an article, or you see some articles that I've written there, which I've divided this year into 3 quarters. I've talked about the first quarter, the second quarter, and the last quarter of this year. And I'm telling you, each and every quarter of this year, there has been some learning, you know. Each and every quarter of this year, if you take 3 months for instance, there have been lessons accompanied with those 3 months, and big lessons. So let's start this. As the year started, I had a friend of mine who, of course, I told you that you must align yourself with people who share the same dream with you, or inspirations and goals and all that. So I have a friend of mine. She traveled. She's now living and working abroad. So we were discussing about different ways in which we can change our career, different ways in which we can stay abroad, and we were going through that phase, and her journey and my journey was similar, but then at one point they kind of diverged, because she had started her journey quite earlier than I did. And I learned is that, yes, you'll be running, you'll be running through life, and you'll be going through the same direction with your people, with your friends and your peers, but you might not be going exactly the same with the same speed as them. Some of them might take a very high trajectory, and they might reach to their goals and dreams faster. And then you might be taking a tortoise kind of of speed, a speed that is slow but sure. And so she was kind of catapulted to get to that. Of course, when you're doing abroad, there's so many documentation that are needed. There's such a huge amount of money that you have to sacrifice yourself for you to go through that path. So by then I wasn't financially, sharp to do things. So I kind of delayed kidogo. And of course, that delay, of course, again, it causes another delay. So she went. But then what I'm saying is that throughout that journey, we were starting with some kind of people. We were starting with kind of friends. Like there were 6 of them. And all of them happily to report that all of them have transpired, and they have transitioned. That is the word. They have transitioned to working abroad. So now that is what started, these people, we could push each other. We could ask each other, have you done this? Have you done that? Have you done this? Have you done that? And to go to a point, of course, when you're just alone and all the help is coming from you, it gets to a point where you have to kind of pause, because of course you have bills to pay, you have your dreams to achieve, and so many other things. And that's what exactly happened. So kind of I paused, and then they continued. I'm happy for them, and they know that they're good friends of mine. Let's get to the next quarter. So when I paused, I did not pause my dreams. I just paused that one dream. The rest of the dreams continued. So the next dream that I had was for me to get to a different path in terms of my career. Like I wanted to get to the corporate world and see what does this corporate world has to offer. I'm a teacher by profession, and as a routine as it is, teaching has this kind of a routine. You wake up, you are going to work, you have the syllabus to cover, you can easily predict even what you're going to do that day. You will go to this class, you go to this other class, you'll go to this other class, you'll mark a few books, you will get to enter some marks. It's kind of routine thing, and you can easily predict. So I need to experience what is it that the corporate world has to offer. What is it that other sectors in this economy, how do they operate, how do they do things, and all that. So when we are now in second quarter. I want you to not to get lost. In second quarter of this year, a friend of mine, I remember it was in April, and I was at home, of course, relaxing with my parents and all that. And I want you to get how I intentionally visit my parents when it is holiday. And you will realize where I'm coming from, and that will have another impact when it comes to my story. Now, I was in holiday. It was on April. I had just completed my NEC training to be an examiner. So I decided, let me just go home, chill kidogo, because that holiday was only 3 weeks. I was in Nairobi for a week. So I was going to be at home for 2 weeks. So I needed to be at home for about a week with my parents and just get a good time and all that. So I went home. I spent some good time with my parent, and I overstayed. I was supposed to be there for 7 days. I overstayed, I think, up to the time that I was coming back to work. So a friend of mine called me when I was just at home, and she was like, you've been doing this. You've been sharing with me that you would want to venture into corporate world and do a few things. I've sent you an article, or I've sent you an advert. I want you to look at that advert and I want you to apply to that advert. And you know how these adverts are. These adverts usually require a lot of stuff. Like you get to an advert, you get to all the documentation that is required. So when she called me and she told me that I wanted to apply for that specific post, I knew a lot of documentation was needed. And you know, again, I wasn't in a very good place financially, so I was kind of hesitant to venture and to do a lot of, you know, documentation that required a lot of cash and all that. But then she was like, you must do it, you must do it, I have to push you and you must do it. So that's exactly what happened. Ignore that. That's a bang of a door. So now that is what happened. So this friend of mine, she was like, you must come back. You know, mi niko Shags, amenipigia akaniuliza where are you, nikamwambia mi niko Shags, akaniambia okay, I want you to come so that we can do the application to this job. This application was 3 days towards expiry. Like it was 3 days to meet the deadline. That means what? They need HELB clearance, they need CRB clearance, they need KRA clearance, they need EACC clearance. I didn't even know some of these things. So many documentation. That is what I want to emphasize. There were so many documentations that were needed, and some of them required money. And you know that in this Zakayo era, and a time where you're just risking, you need to think about where are you venturing into. So this friend of mine, when I came, she was like, you must do this, you must do this. And I was like, okay, will you do for me? And this year I will give you much of my big lessons. Let me do something. So this year I'm going to give you some of the lessons that I've learned. Personally, my previous years, I've always felt inadequate. I've always felt like, I know people have this mind, or they perceive me in this kind of a way, like I'm a go-getter, I'm strong, nothing traumatizes me, I can get through everything. That is the picture that majority of the people, if they're told to describe me, will take and will give. That is the outward appearance. But the inward me, I'm opposite. Sometimes I'm very naive. Sometimes I'm very, meaning, yani I'm such a timid, is that a word? I'm such a person who cannot just risk if I've not evaluated that thing. Number two, I'm a very bad overthinker, and it has really, really messed me up. I'm such a bad overthinker. I look at the situation, I evaluate it, make conclusions even before I do anything towards that. I'm that kind of a person, which I've really tried to work on this year again, because I've told you previously that's kind of a person that I used to be. I'm such a bad overthinker. Me, a small thing heavy, I can overthink that whole situation and it gets out of hand and I just abandon it. I don't even do anything towards it. But this time around, I told myself this year, we are not complaining, we are not procrastinating, and we are doing it. Those are the three things that we said this year as it started. So when she told me, and it was just, I think 2 days toward the deadline. So I had to go to Huduma Center. I had to look for a lawyer. Kuna zile stamping of some of those documents and all that. There was some money to be spent. I didn't have much. I had to spend. So I did all that. And I remember that friend of mine pushing me like, ile mtu anakwambia, you have to do this. You have to do it. So she pushed me to that end. And I'm thankful to her. I acknowledged her in Pale Facebook. Now please go and read that. She pushed me and I made the application. Like, I made the application by 9 and the deadline was by 10. And I managed. And I'm forever grateful to that girl. She believed in me. I had all the qualifications. She believed in me. And she knew I would get that job, that position. And true to it, today I have that position courtesy of that friend of mine. That is achievement. So in the second quarter of my life, I would say that it was more of achievements. Bravi! Oh, okay, welcome back. Just bear with me. Sometimes when you're recording and there are kids, of course, some of those things are likely to happen. So now where were we? We were pushing myself towards getting that position. So I applied, I did apply, and to cut the whole story short, I got the position. Now that is when it dawned on me the power, the energy, and how people perceive me, and how I also took myself as, like it dawned on me after that position, it dawned on me like I'm this kind of a very powerful girl who only requires a few support or just requires a small support here and there, and everything else work out. Because the support that I got from that friend of mine was tremendous, She believed in me. She pushed me like ile mse anakuamsha 6 anakukall making a call. She pushed me and I got that to that point. So what am I saying? I realized the energy that I have, the potential that I have. So upon realization of that, I tried to pick another route. That one I'll not discuss, but I will discuss it later. This is now the second quarter of this year. That is the first achievement. The second achievement, you all know I'm a teacher by profession. And I'm this kind of a person. I've told you that people, when they perceive me outwardly, like when you just look at me like this, you can say this is a strong girl, a go-getter, and all that kind of stuff. At work, there are different departments. So I remember one day I was called by my boss and he told me, I want you to be the head of a certain department, language department. Of course, I teach English. I want you to be the head of language department. I work in this kind of an environment where, let me just describe it and say, a patriarchal society. And so when I was told that, the complainant that I am, I again gave him reasons that, I know I cannot, I don't deserve that position. Other people who are more qualified than me deserve that position. Other people who have been more experienced in this position need to get to that position. Why don't you just give to them? Me, I am not ready for that position. And I remember that morning, like when he called me, I was like, me, I'm this kind of a talkative, bubbly kind of a girl. And so I was in the midst of us talking with other few people and other few colleagues. And so when he called me and told me, my boss called me and told me that I want to be the head of department, I was like, God, no, please. I know I've been through this process and I want you to go and watch my video that I talked about the year 2022, some of the things that I went through. So from that experience, I wasn't ready to be in such a position. So I was like, no. Me, I'm not ready for that position. I bless it to other people and I'm okay to go. Let me say, kumbe, I shall decide. You are going. And it's a person who, once they decide what they want, you can never change them. So he cannot be changed. So I told him, just give me some time. I just go research, think about it, and come back. I was actually not going to think about it because I was automatically going to decline it. Gabla bin vu. Punde si punde. He had already announced, and everybody else was aware that I'm going to be the head of that department, language department. It has never sunk inside me that I'm still at the head of a department, because that appointment has changed me totally. It has changed me to be a prayerful person. That is number one thing that it has done. It changed me to believe in God more. It changed me to become a more prayerful woman. Number two, I talk about mental health. This was one thing that pushed me towards mental issues, anger issues, hatred. It pushed me to that. I will talk about that story. Not today. But upon that appointment, my friends, very few celebrated with me. Very few in terms of colleagues. Yeah. And the kind of treatment that I got, my God, I will only say, you see, the way everybody else knows, everybody else is aware of who you are. But that position was a shocker to me and to many. And I'm telling you, my friends, hiyo nitaongelelea baadaye. That was the second quarter. So the second quarter, I would call it achievement quarters. I achieved positions, I achieved personal things. Kuna vitu tu nilikuwa tu nikisema, I want to do this, I want to do that. I had been procrastinating. Like, of course, when you have friends who procrastinate, you will also be a procrastinator. So that is exactly what was happening. So there's some things that, of course, I was just pushing and saying, I will do that. A near comes, a near end, and all that. So apart from achievements that people can see, achievement that, everybody visibly can see, there are some other personal achievements that I did. Quite a number that you cannot just parade everything. Now let's get to the third quarter. And just refer to this third quarter as the losses quarter. The last quarter will come from August, September, October, November, and December. I will start from August. August, again, it was a holiday. I went home, had some nice time with my parents and all that. That time now, when I went home for August, Dad had started feeling a bit sickly. Like my dad had a condition that we call dementia, and I'm going to talk about that later. So my dad had dementia, which he was diagnosed with like 3 years ago. But this year, all those symptoms now started manifesting, especially loss of memory. That was the hardest bit. Dad lost memory. He could not remember where he has put things. He could not remember where he has put stuff. He could not remember to get back home. And so August, when I went home, he wasn't as bad. And he wasn't even as bad. He used to walk. He was remember. The good thing is that he was remembering our, like the children. He could remember my son. He could remember me. He could remember my mom and all that kind of stuff. And he could remember money. Of course, he could say, ukienda uniacheka kitu and such kind of stuff. So it wasn't bad. Again, I spent time with them. We had some nice time and we celebrated August. So now comes September. So Dad's now started having other issues. He has been having issues to do with blood pressure, but then now here, he was in September, his body started swelling. So we had to go to the hospital, check what could be the issues and all that. And so my visit to the hospital started in September. I could get to the hospital. Mom is there, and I'm so grateful to God because of her. So she would get Dad, take him to the different hospitals. We would book appointment, go check on him, and all the results were getting to be negative. All the results were negative. The first day that I visited him, as they were going to the hospital, he was totally swollen. His legs were swollen. So my first instinct, of course, I'm not a doctor, but of course my first thing would be kidney could be having issues, or there was water retention in the body, and those are some of the things that could contribute to his swelling of the feet. And so when I was told by the doctor to get a test for kidney, I was not hesitant because I knew something was wrong somewhere. So we went, and surprisingly, we did all the tests, and there was nothing that was diagnosed. His kidneys were perfect. So now he was given blood pressure usually have different meds. So they were changed. So maybe the doctor said maybe that could be the reason. So they were changed. And so Dad's health started deteriorating from that point. The whole of September, it was not good. Many of the times that we have gone to the hospital, September, October, September, October. Yes. Now, since something happened, I've had memory lapse, and I'm going to talk about that later. but I'm coming again so very well. So October, dad deteriorated. Like, he could not move, he could not walk well. If he walks, he would fall. Like, his locomotion, his movements were not 100%. And so we restricted his movement. So we kind of did not allow him to go to places because he would fall, angepotea na huko, asahau kurudi nyumbani, asahau kurudi home and all that. So we kind of restricted his movement. And of course, mom was there to watch him and all that. That was now in September. So in October, sorry, that was now in October. In October, the second week of October, dad got admitted because his conditions were now like, we could see ageanguka, agogwe kichwa, nini nini. So we kind of went to the hospital for him to be having a close checkup. So when we went again, it was more of, he's supposed to be admitted. We repeat the different tests that we had and all that. And it was a whole week of torture. Like, test after test after test, ile unamshika anatolewa damu and all that kind of stuff. It was tough. And I remember sharing with a few of my friends and them encouraging me and telling me that he will be okay and all that. I'm not saying that those friends did anything wrong, but their encouragement and prayers kept me moving. I don't want to be emotional, and I'm trying so hard not to be. So he got admitted, he was treated, nothing was diagnosed. We were advised by the doctors to take him back home to have, care back at home, that nursing care at home, change a few things, adjust a few things here and there so that at least we can aid in terms of his support and in terms of, the way he does things and all that. And surprisingly, dad would sit down and eat and all that. But then he would fumble words, but then you could not coherently hear what he was saying. I don't know. So now came November. So he was admitted at the mid of October, and he was released towards the end of October. But then as the month was coming to an end, again we used frequently visit the hospital for different checkups. Sometimes he'd get some, Caesars. See, he would get some Caesars. He would get some conversions, and mom would take him to the hospital. Now, the last quarter, it's about losses again. And unfortunately, we lost dad. And you'll realize that I've jumped up quite a number. So we lost him. This whole year, to me, it has been the year of Jacob in the Bible. You all know the story of Jacob in the Bible, where he had a lot. He had money, he had horses, he had wealth, he had all that. But they were snatched. All those ones, he was tempted, and all his wealth, ikaisha. When you have a sick parent, it will dig deep into your pocket. And it will be bad if wewe sasa ndo unategemewa. I'm not saying that I'm not 100% wa kutegemewa kwetu. But kutegemewa in terms of making so many decisions. So this is a time that I was drained emotionally, seeing dad each and every day and how he was moving and how his body was reacting. It drained me emotionally. It drained me a lot. I shielded that whole thing from my friends so that they do not see. I told you I'm a strong person as people perceive me physically, but internally I was breaking down. Sometimes I would cry, and I was going through a hard time that time. And when dad rested, I had to step in, be strong, and all that. So this year, it has been a good year, smooth year. To me, 80% of this year has been good. But then this last part of this year has really awakened the inner me, and I've realized the power that I have in myself. That I still need to dream big. I still need to be present in my life. And I am grateful that I met very incredible people throughout this year who stood in for me when I really needed them the most. I'm forever grateful to my friends. And I'm saying that this has been my year Yes, but there's also been my loss here. Yes. As we get to 2024, allow yourself to be present in your life. Allow yourself to evolve. Allow yourself to dare. Allow yourself to dream. And just be you. Just be you. Just be you. And you will enjoy through the year. I know there's that part that you guys are asking. I'm still in the phase of healing. After we lost my dad, of course, I lost memory. Ndio inarudi. I'm under supplements. Ndio memory yangu inakuwa like naweza kumbuka some of the few things. Naona ile mind clog. I think that's what happened. And it has been bad. I've been through a phase and I'm grateful to where I am right now. But there's power in prayers and there's power in trusting God. Despite whatever you're going through, God will never leave you. He has not left me, even in that hard time. He held me and He has been with me. So as we go through 2024, and I will try and talk about these different issues, just know that that's the point that I was coming from, or that I'm coming from, the year 2023. A lot, I've received a lot. But please stay tuned, subscribe to my channel, and listen to what I have to say. Thank you.